Okay, so welcome to the fourth episode of Damage Control, Rewrite, Reshoot, Redesign. I'm Adam. I'm here with Daniel.
Hello.
The Superman of the DC Trinity is not here. He's here well, before I go into that, Daniel, I'm gonna put it out on you so I don't stumble on the words. Where are we at today?
We are at the 4th annual Big River Steampunk Festival in Hannibal, Missouri today.
And Mike is somewhere around here. He's ignoring our phone call.
He is very much enjoying the festivities, which there are some amazing things to see out here.
Fair enough. I suffer a bit of agoraphobia and anxiety around big crowds, so I didn't come out later until kind of crowds dissipate. I know you had been here for a while, so I walked around, saw a lot of the shops. I didn't get to see much of the shows because, like I said, big crowds make me nervous. But you were here, so give a quick rundown to anyone who didn't make it out.
Yeah, this place is absolutely amazing. I've been here since about 11 o'clock, and they've had performing artists with a fantastic guy in the center stage bouncing on a ball while juggling a bowling ball and a flaming torch that he fire ate a little bit later on. A lot of different things moving about, a lot of live music. Some of the best costumes you could ever hope to see in a convention. And especially for our film goers, they had an old 1913 or 1912 flicker projector and were showing turn-of-the-century film reels on 35 millimeter. I got the opportunity to sit through one of those, and it was a very interesting experience.
Better or worse than Batman v Superman?
Ooh, hard. I'm going to go with worse.
You're not on this show no more. Okay. Earlier we recorded it before we did this intro, but earlier we sat down with three ladies from the Steampunk Festival. Go ahead, Danny. You want to say something?
Yeah. We sat down with three individuals as well as someone from the event staff, Douglas Coleman, a personal friend of mine. Stay tuned, and you're going to hear all of that interview. It's fantastic. Don't miss it.
All right, we'll cut to it right now.
Do you prefer for us to go through by your stage name, or do you have a different name you want us to call you for the podcast?
When I'm on site, I go by Magnolia. I'm dealing in art. Thank you.
All right, perfect. And then Violen Dragoness.
Yeah.
Do you prefer us to use that name, or do you want us to use a different name?
I go by that or my real name, Lydia, so you can use whatever.
Okay, sure. We'll just go ahead. We'll stick with the stage name then. Okay. All right. Are we recording?
We are. I got a little leader, so yeah, whenever you're ready to rock and roll.
All right, perfect. So we are. Okay, well, we're gonna cut that out. Okay.
It's not as easy, is it?
It is not. Always tease him about this. All right, welcome to the Big River Steampunk Festival in Hannibal, Missouri. We are joined by three beautifully talented ladies here. We're going to introduce them briefly. Magnolia, you are part of a stage act with Judas, is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay, and can you tell us a little bit about what you guys do together, and just to talk about a little bit about your act?
Sure. So our act is Judas and Magnolia, Daring Escapes. We have different performances that we can offer. So I think today you saw some of our escape artist performances.
Absolutely.
Which is really our bread and butter. So we did a few different escapes today. We did a firebox escape. We did a sword box escape. Judas did a chain escape. And then he debuted a new performance piece here tonight at the Follies, which drifted a little bit from escape and a little bit more into magic, but it was part of a show based on spiritualism of the late 1800s and early 1900s, which is very much fitting into this era of steampunk that we are here for today.
Yeah.
So those are some of the things that we offer. We do offer other escapes. One of the things that I very much like about our performances is that we bill them as escape theater. So we've been very influenced in our work with Circus Flora, based in St. Louis. They perform what they call circus theater. So all of their circus acts fit into a larger narrative. And we've also worked on the Ren Fair circuit with an action-adventure troupe, but they bill themselves as Action Theater. It's a jousting company that also performs their stunts in a theatrical narrative. And so when we are at steampunk events and Renaissance fairs and circuses, we really like to have that narrative-based performance, which I think fits very well into steampunk because so many steampunkers get into that backstory.
I would absolutely agree. I was fortunate enough to see two of your performances, the Firebox Escape that you explained, as well as the Magic Spiritualist during the Follies. I got to see both of those, and I've got my very fancy key from the Firebox Escape. Very happy about that.
Excellent.
So what kind of drove you into this kind of performance?
I'm trying to think of how to answer that succinctly. My fella started off his performance career busking on the street with mime. So for folks who are not familiar with that term busking, it's performing on street corners for tips. So that can look like more individual interactions, or that can look like a big circle show. And so he started doing mime as busking art in St. Louis on the streets. We started training in circus arts, so he moved into clowning, got into juggling, and from there started creating clown shows, got a little bit into magic, and then he really just kind of stumbled into escape artistry through his work in the vaudeville scene in St. Louis. And he found that it was wildly popular and people really had a craving for escape artistry. And I think something that he's hit on was that much like his first work in mime, everyone knows what an escape artist is. Like that's a touchstone for Americans. But who has actually seen one? Very few people. And same with mimes. Everyone knows what a mime is, but hardly anyone's seen one. So we got into escape artistry, and when he decided that he wanted to be an artist full-time, he started writing shows that incorporated both of us so that we could travel and perform together.
That's great. So the act that you did earlier today was very artistic about sky pirates, and the characters you put together are very interesting. Is that what your typical shows are like, or is that something special for the event today?
Yeah, so when we craft our shows, we've got a basic script that we go off of, and then we can kind of tweak that along with costuming, along with accents, to fit the particular event that we've been hired for. So we've done some Wild West events. I mentioned earlier that we travel the Ren Fair circuit much of the year. We really love steampunk events. I said earlier that we've dabbled in circus as well, so we like to be versatile.
That's great. Now, you used a term earlier, and I think everyone here at the table is familiar with it, but just in case for those listening at home, you used the reference vaudeville. What kind of performance is that?
Yeah, so vaudeville is a really fun term for me. I think it has a flavor of antiquity in it, but for me personally, I see vaudeville in a lot of the contemporary performance that's being done today in burlesque, in sideshow, on the Ren Fair circuit even. I would say the Ren Fair is arguably the new vaudeville circuit. So vaudeville is a term from around the turn of the century, and I think what I love about it is variety. It says to me variety. So if you went to a vaudeville show, you would go and you would see dancing, and you would see singing, and you would see, perhaps some thespians as well. You would see a little bit of circus, maybe some stunts. It was really just a variety bag. And I think, at least in our work, we've seen the idea and the hunger for variety shows coming back. And I don't hear a lot of people using that term vaudeville, but I think our show in particular really captures that spirit in so many ways, and that we've got the live song. We try to incorporate a little bit of dance. We've got the comedy. We've got the adventure. And so we've got a lot of things going on in just our one show. Fire, juggling, circus, all these things. And so I love that term vaudeville because it's, I guess in a way, something for me to aspire to and something to excite me.
That's absolutely great. Okay, so we're going to move on to our next guest, another lovely young lady, Mary Smith with Second...
Well, my stage name is Miss Mary Steam.
Oh, okay, Miss Mary Steam. I apologize for that.
That's okay.
And you are with a company, is it Second Time Steampunk? Is that right?
It's my business. It's called Second Time Steampunk. And she is hard to follow. She's an excellent speaker.
I apologize.
I actually go and do talk to people about what steampunk is, and I guess I got into it. It's not on the performance side, but I like to make jewelry. I like to make things, and Second Time Steampunk started with the jewelry and the watch part of it. As you see, I have little earrings, old antique watches, and these watches to me incorporate steampunk, all the gears and the movement of everything that's in it. That's what steampunk is, the gears, and back into the 90s and the vaudeville era, and all of it relates to that era. But I wanted a way to keep these watches going, and then I wanted some, but where could you find it? So I started making my own, and a jeweler in our town had been there for years and years and years. He died and the family was selling the business, and so they stripped everything of the gold and silver, and all that was left was these cute little gears and watch parts and insides of them. So I turned them into jewelry and keep them going, and that's a lot what steampunk is. Steampunk is about the past, but yet it goes into the future. Because how do we know what the future is unless we go by what our past was? So that's where the second time, because I bring it around again and wear it again and I go to steampunk events all over, craft shows, I give talks on steampunk. I'm actually going to give one to some art educators in my area because they're so excited about steampunk, but they don't know what it is. So the thing about steampunk is that the art is so fantastic. It's the best thing to hit art because you see a mix of this and a mix of that and different genres, and you can, it's just your mind can just, whatever your mind can conceive, you can make. There's no boundaries. When I make my jewelry, I have all of it laid out in front of me. It's a table that is huge because it's visual. I have to see it. I have to be able to know what goes together. And some people ask me, well, how long does it take you to make a piece? I have no idea because I'm doing like 30 or 40 at a time. It's like doing a puzzle. You grab this, oh, I was looking for that, and I put this there, and I put this at, and it's been great. And I have expanded into doing purses. I use vintage jewelry. I make hats and decorate hats. So it's really expanded. The people I see in steampunk are just wonderful, and there's more and more and more all the time. And it's just amazing. It's all about having fun, using your imagination. Steampunkers are very imaginative.
Oh, absolutely.
And you probably see that in their outfits and costumes, and love to make their own and do that. So what I offer is maybe a little bit of help, a little piece to go here or there, and steampunk is fun.
Absolutely, and sadly you can't see this, but all three of our lovely ladies are all decorated up. They look fantastic. Now, one thing I noticed while I was looking around and kind of shopping at the different booths, a lot of the different steampunk jewelry, you definitely get. You spend as little or spend as much as you want.
Absolutely. And
I noticed that your booth has some of the most exquisite items I've seen. They seem to be some of the best quality ones. So how do you go about picking what items you're going to steampunk up, and where do you get what you use to steampunk?
Mm-hmm. Well, it's really all about the old watches. If you don't have the old watches with the gears, you can't make it. And mine are authentic. They are the real thing. The old pocket watches, the old Elgins and Wathams from Watham, Massachusetts, Elgin, Illinois. They were the early watchmakers of our company back in the 1900s when all this happened. Neither one are no longer in business, but I use authentic pieces and actual little watches, hands from clocks. I take them apart and I get their gears out of them. You know, it makes it such a unique item. And what I do is like no two are alike. No two are alike. Each one is conceived as its own piece of art, and so they are very different. And I like to use quality pieces. You know, authentic old pieces, and so if you'd see a watch nowadays, and usually I keep one with me to show kids and stuff, a watch nowadays has a battery, and it has electrical components and wires and stuff. It doesn't have gears. It has to be an old watch in order to have the gears that you need to get this look.
All right, that's great. So we're going to move on to our third guest. This is the lovely Violen Dragoness, who I've had the joy of watching her perform twice today as well. Now, Violen Dragoness, why don't you tell us a little bit about the show that you do and how you got into it?
Well, what I do is I play electric violin and I sing a little bit too. And this just got started back in last September, actually.
Oh, wow.
So it's very new. I live loop. I play with karaoke backtracks that I have either made, my friends have helped me make, or I have bought. So, and I started playing violin in, like acoustic violin in 7th grade. And then I discovered the magnificent electric violin in probably my sophomore year of high school. And that was only about 2 years ago. So I am a senior in high school, and I made the switch a year and a half ago, and best choice of my life.
Now, this is really exciting for someone so young, but you said on one of your stage performances that you had a single released recently.
Yes.
Why don't you tell us a little bit about that? What song did you pick, and why did you pick it?
I picked Subdivisions by Rush, and I replaced all the synthesizer sounds in it with electric violin. I had my friend George Kester, who lives in California right now. He goes to the Musicians Institute. He did all the drums, the bass, the guitars. He's extremely talented, and I sang the vocals with it. And I basically recorded it in my bedroom with this like $30 mic. He made it sound amazing, and then he mixed everything back. And then I posted it all over like iTunes, Spotify, Bandcamp. So it's Subdivisions by Violen Dragoness. You can go pick it up, whichever major music outlet you like online.
All right, that's fantastic. Now, I would imagine that you've probably got some musical influences. I think I heard a little bit of Lindsey Sterling.
Yes.
Is that it? Okay.
Oh, I love her.
Anyone else that you would quote as a big influence in your work?
Lindsey Sterling, of course. She's incredible. Val Vigoda is another electric violinist who I adore. She's amazing. Please look her up, for goodness sakes. She needs more publicity. Oh my gosh. Razvio is another one. She also live loops and sings. I take a lot of influence from Bono of U2 and Geddy Lee of Rush. Even a little bit of Janis Joplin. I started listening to her about half a year ago, and wow. So I feel like I've kind of included some of that. Hopefully, maybe.
Yeah,
I'm not sure. I can't really judge myself, but yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. A little bit of the past, a little bit of the present.
Yeah.
I like it. All right, and we're moving on to our final guest here, Mr. Douglas Coleman, who is a staff member here at the Big River Steampunk Festival. So, Doug, why don't you tell us a little bit about what you do to make all of this happen?
Well, I don't do much. I can't take a whole lot of credit. Basically, what my job is mostly to do, and has been for the last 4 years, is to work with the vendors, make sure the vendors are happy, make sure everything that needs to be done at the festival is ready to go. That includes making sure the ice machine, or the ice is in the buckets for selling ice, or selling ice cold soda, selling water and stuff like that, making sure the vendors have coffee sitting in their booth, making sure the green tarp is down so people don't trip over cords, and just making overall that everyone has the best experience they can.
That's fantastic. Sounds like you do so little, but you do so much. The thing could not happen without you. How did you get involved with the Big River Steampunk Festival?
It actually started because 4 years ago, Lisa Marks was having trouble. I knew Lisa and Ken. I worked with them on websites. They helped me out when I was doing theater. So when they asked me for help to help run the first event, I jumped at the chance and said no problem. And was very thankful that I did, because it was a eye-opening experience. I didn't know what steampunk was. I had a very cursory glance into it through D&D and a video game called Arcanium. And I really got into that little bit, but it didn't show me a whole lot, and this kind of really opened my eyes. The first year we were there, talking about that, the first year we were there, somebody showed up in a complete, fully made, handmade Darth Vader steampunk costume. It was absolutely fantastic, and it kind of opened my eyes of what steampunk could be. It wasn't just this small little genre of what if everything ran on Steam. It was that, plus what if Star Wars ran on Steam? What if Futurama ran on Steam? So it was a really eye-opening, very creative experience for me.
That's great. So those of you who are hopefully longtime listeners of the podcast know that normally we talk about movies and video games, comic books, a little bit of everything, film, cinema, not really video games. Spoiler, we may talk about video games in the future. That's on the mind for Arcanum. So what we want to do is kind of talk about what your guys' favorite steampunk medias may be. Or just in general, what kind of movies do you like? What kind of things do you like to watch? So I know, Magnolia, you said that you're currently reading the Lady Mechanica comic book. Why don't you tell us a little bit what you think about that, and if you have any steampunk recommendations for us?
So, of course, I don't want to give too much away of Lady Mechanica, because everyone should experience it on their own terms. But I have really enjoyed it. I think a big deal for me, of course, is the female lead in comic books. That is always very exciting. Having a female lead kind of in this heroine role, but maybe a little bit more vigilante, kind of more Batman than Superman as far as the feel.
Batman.
Right? Okay. And the artwork is gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous. I actually, when I design my steampunk costumes, I open up my Lady Mechanica comic books.
That's great.
So for anyone out there who is looking to work on their costuming, I absolutely recommend going out and getting yourself a volume of Lady Mechanica. It's a lovely story, very dark. Like I said earlier, more Batman than Superman, and of course I don't want to give too much away, because I want everyone to go out and buy one of their own and then share it with their friends in order to support those artists, because they do really lovely work.
That's great. Mary, how about you? What's your favorite steampunk thing? Something for us to read, something for us to watch?
Absolutely Lindsay Sterling. Absolutely is the best thing. When I first saw her video on YouTube, I was so mesmerized. I just kept watching different ones for like hours. She is amazing. I have her music playing in the background all the time. Everybody check her out on YouTube. She was originally kicked off of America's Got Talent.
Really?
They said, you'll never make it. You'll never be able to play violin and dance at the same time. And you should see her go. She is just amazing. And I spend a lot of time creating, so I don't have a lot of TV or movie time and stuff. But I just love how it can go any way with the genres. It can go sci-fi. It can go old school. It's steampunk is everything. One thing you should all check out on YouTube is there's a guy employed by Intel, one of the biggest technology firms that there is, and he gave a YouTube video, and he is employed by them to figure out what's going to happen in the future and what what's happening, so that Microsoft and them always want to be ahead of the game. They always want to have the new next biggest thing. So you see this man, he's in his business suit, he's talking to all these people in the audience in their business suits, he's from Intel, he's like paid to predict the future trends in technology and everything. And all of a sudden he says, and the future trend is steampunk. And it is, because it's all about technology nowadays, but we want our technology to have a sense of humor. We want it to have a sense of humanity to it. As everything gets more and more technical and computers, and you stay at home and order everything from computers, we want it to still have something from our past to remember it by. And
Absolutely.
that's what really got me, is that it is the way of the future, because the only way we can vision our future is to remember our past. And that's what we do when we use steampunk. We use stuff from the past, and we're creating a future vision. And so anything that has to do with that, I love to watch. I love to listen to the music while I'm making things, and read the books. The books out there, I'm even surprised at how many steampunk books there are. Amazing. Check them out.
What's your favorite book, Mary? Your favorite steampunk book?
Oh,
Put you on the spot.
you are putting me on the spot. A lot of mine are not so much storytelling as I have tons of books that how to make the jewelry, how to make the costume, and this person is doing this, and always learning, always getting new ideas and all that about what to make next.
Okay, sounds great. We'll look into some of that.
Yes.
Now, Doug, you mentioned that the Arcanum, the video game there, I've actually had a chance to play that. Very fun game, showing a little bit of age now. What about you? Do you have any other steampunk recommendations? Things, anything? Movies, video games, comics?
I've been actually sitting here thinking about this question when you started asking. I'm probably actually the worst person to be on this, mainly because, yes, I know of Lindsay Sterling. I love her work. They try to include Doctor Who, but I don't see Doctor Who as steampunk. I'm sorry. And they try to include different things into it. But really, to me, I don't follow a whole lot of steampunk. I don't read the books. I don't do all that stuff. So if you had to ask me what my favorite steampunk thing is, it honestly and wholeheartedly is the costumes that people do when they're doing steampunk. The creativity that people do when they're making them is absolutely insane. I mean, yeah, some people do a little bit in cosplays, and they try to. I apologize to the ladies. Try to dress as sexy as they can, but
No
honestly,
apologies.
I
No apologies necessary.
Yeah, how dare you call them sexy?
No, you can call me sexy. I'm okay with that.
Oh, well, that's the
Okay,
case.
so ladies and gentlemen, please don't tell my wife I'm on this podcast.
And he'll be going to the Burley Q later tonight.
Yeah, I'm actually going
My ticket's in my pocket.
I will say that was actually my wife's idea. But
Nothing
the
wrong
amount of creativity that goes into them, because while they're going, okay, I'm going to dress as, for lack of a better term, and I hate using this derogatory term, I'm going to dress as slutty Harley Quinn. They can't just do that. They have to accessorize. It has to be slutty, for lack of a better term, I apologize, slutty Harley Quinn with a lot of steampunk in it. And that shows a huge amount of creativity that just blows me away. And actually, I never really knew steampunk except for those two little references. And since then, my taste for it has really changed. I'm sitting here in a kilt, for crying out loud. So my idea of what steampunk can do has really opened up a lot of creativity that I kind of let dormant for a long time. So it's exciting.
Well, that's great. So, Violen Dragoness, what do you have to recommend to us for steampunk?
Gosh.
Besides your music, which I only have her listening to.
Oh, thank you. That'd be great. You should do that. I'm not a huge steampunk person, as I'm wearing a full-fledged steampunk outfit. But the irony. But I do really have to recommend, of course, I released a cover by Rush, originally by Rush. I have to really recommend the album Clockwork Angels by Rush. It's their latest, hopefully not last album. It was released in 2012. It's amazing. It's they also, I think Kevin J. Anderson also released a book that is details the plot, and it's a concept album, so that like has the plot in it. It's pretty good, and there are like little Rush references and throughout the book, and then they did a comic book on it too, and the
That's
artwork,
great.
it's beautiful. So I highly recommend. Those three things are great. And then I have to third Lindsay Sterling. Please, if you don't know who she is, please look her up. Please do that. So, yeah.
You didn't recommend Lindsay Sterling. What's wrong with you?
I'm so sorry. 50 lashes, please.
Okay, and hopefully for you longtime listeners to the podcast, you know Adam's favorite movie is Batman vs. Superman. He is the president of the fan club, and Mike and I are diehard opposed to it. So talking to Violen Dragoness a little bit, she is echoing Adam's opinion, so we're going to give her just a little bit of time. Dragoness, why don't you tell us why you're wrong to like Batman vs. Superman 2?
What? Oh my gosh.
Before you begin, I want to say this.
Yes.
They are right.
Oh no!
Bless you.
Man, I'm glad I came in
Bless
there.
you. Oh my gosh.
Adam's never leaving. That's it.
Well, gosh, where do I begin? It's been a while since I've last seen the movie, but I do have to say, the theatrical edition of Batman vs. Superman, it was good, but it could have been better. But if you watch the version, was it the director's cut? Or, yeah, it has 30 minutes of extra plot, not fighting, and it ties some, not even major stuff up, just extra things, and I feel like it made the movie more whole. So I really liked that, and you cannot you can't say you hate a movie that has an incredible soundtrack by Hans Zimmer featuring the electric cellist Tina Guo. You cannot
We even brought it back
say
to
it.
Steampunk.
Absolutely.
You can't hate on Tina Guo. She's amazing.
Honestly, of the last 5 years or so of cinema I've watched, nothing has come close to how powerful the Wonder Woman issue with Youth scene.
Oh my
is.
gosh.
That
Yes.
I mean, that even topped to me Dragonborn from Skyrim 5 before, and it just, I mean, I play that, I'm like, yeah, I want to go attack something. So I'm totally with you on that one. The soundtrack
Yes.
alone is worth it.
Oh my gosh. It's incredible. Please, listen
I'm
to
going to
it.
stop there before he has a chance to talk. They promised us 2 or 3 minutes, and they went a half hour. So.
Oh, absolutely. We need to wrap this up. We are taking very much of these ladies' time.
we
We had
appreciate
so much
it.
fun.
yeah,
We could sit here and talk forever.
Yeah, real quick, why don't we give everyone a shameless plug? So, Magnolia, why don't you tell us how do we get a hold of you and Judas to do your shows?
Sure. So, judasandmagnolia.com. That's and spelled A-N-D. Judasandmagnolia.com is our website, and that's available to producers who are looking to book entertainment for events. And it's also very accessible to our fans. We keep an updated calendar on there. We book about a year in advance, so we keep our calendar updated with that so that you can see where we've been, where we are, and where we're going.
Perfect.
On that website, you can find links to our Twitter, Tumblr, Instagram, and Facebook pages, and that's under Magnolia Strange or Judas and Magnolia.
All right, I'm going there immediately. Mary, how do we get a hold of you?
The best is, I'm on Facebook. People ask me many times if I sell stuff on the internet, if I have a website. That doesn't give me the enjoyment that the personal interaction does. I do this because I love making people happy and seeing some little girl walk off with a hat or something like that I made, and she's just beaming. So I don't sell my stuff online, and I can't because they're one of a kind. But you can like me on Facebook, and I post on there pictures now and then of some of my work, and I always let people know where I'm going to be next.
Okay, what's your Facebook page?
Second time Steampunk.
Perfect. All right, and Miss Dragoness, Violen Dragoness, how do we get to hear more of your music?
My website address is a bit long, so I'm just going to forego that. But,
Okay.
Give us the Bitly version.
What?
The Bitly version.
Yeah, that would be long too, honestly. But I am on YouTube, Facebook, Spotify, iTunes, and Instagram, all is Violen Dragoness. You spell Dragoness as in dragon, and then ESS at the end. So that's how you reach me.
All right, perfect. And then Doug,
I have nothing to plug.
oh, that's a lie. I know that's a lie.
Big River Steamworks Festival.
Doug, pick something. Do you want to plug Big River Steam Festival? Do you want to plug Three Wise Geeks?
Are you gonna do it next
His blog and live stream on Twitch? Or do we want to plug Extra Life, where he does cancer charities?
It's actually more than cancer. It's actually, I'm going to correct you, apologize. It's not just cancer.
Got him talking.
I guess I'll talk about all of them. Steampunk Festival has been absolutely fantastic. It's been absolutely wonderful, growing every year. BigRiverSteampunk.com. You can find them on Facebook as well. Ken and Lisa are fantastic people, and they pour their heart and soul in this. And I can't thank them enough for doing this.
I have to say, just real quick, that we travel the country performing at festivals, different kinds of venues and events. Our range this year was from Texas to Maine, and this is consistently one of my top favorite festivals.
Absolutely.
In my top 5.
And the thing that makes me so happy about being a part of this isn't that's not an isolated thing. I've heard so many vendors that I've talked to say they circle this day on their calendar because they want to be here for it.
Yeah.
We sell out most of our vendor spots the day after this place closes.
Yes.
So it's fantastic. Every year I get to see new people. One of the people that have been coming every single year, and I really want to talk about this, someone I want to plug as well, is Raven Steamworks. She's been here every single year. She's been a big supporter of it every single year. I saw her today, and I was like, I gave her a big hug, and I was like, you know what? It's like we're family. We see each other on major holidays, and it's really like that with a lot of these people. Judas and Charlotte, I have horrible names, but I see these people once a year, and it makes me really excited. But yeah, I do run Three Ways Geeks, which is a fledgling website that's just basically geek and pop culture stuff. I have a great writer there, Sarah McComber, who does a fantastic job writing for me, and I need to do some more writing. I do stream on Twitch, and the Twitch and Extra Life kind of come together, because when I do stream on Twitch, all the money I raise from that is going to Extra Life. And Extra Life, finally, is it's a gaming marathon type thing. It's kind of like a Relay for Life, but kind of. But what we do in Extra Life is we raise money for Children's Miracle Network hospitals, and the money all stays locally. I play specifically for the MU Women and Children's Hospital, and every time I raise, either through the Twitch, through the Extra Life at Macon, through all the events that I do, the League Twitch streaming that I do, which you are a generous sponsor of. Thank you very much, Daniel. Every single penny I raise from that goes towards them, and I know who it goes to. I've met the people that it goes to, and I've toured the hospital, and that gives me a sense of pride every day that a lot of my life is devoted to that. So it is really, thank you very much for letting me plug it, because I could talk about it all night. So.
Oh, absolutely. Thank you for doing this. Adam, do you have anything to add?
No, I just appreciate you all doing the interview. Thank you.
Okay, and ladies, Doug?
Batman v Superman.
Batman v Superman. Ladies and Doug, do you guys have anything to add?
I'm not even get the gentleman moniker. I get Doug.
Well, we know the gentleman's not right.
Too accurate.
So do you guys have anything for us or anything to add to all of our listeners at home?
Get into steampunk. It's the most fun you'll ever have, no matter what age.
Yes.
Your life's too short. Have fun. Wear the hat. Wear the jewelry. Wear the skirt. Whatever you want to do. Wear the kilt. Enjoy life. Have fun. That's what we're all here for.
And there you go. I can't think of anything better to end our note on. Life is short. Have fun. Give Batman vs Superman another shot.
Yes.
So
Joy
this,
for its flaws.
so this is Damage Control. Redesign, reshoot, and rewrite.
Okay, all right. So we're back from the editing space I gave myself to edit in the interviews. So that was very nice. They promised us 2 to 3 minutes. They gave us a half hour.
Absolutely, we couldn't ask for anything more from them. Fantastic to deal with, very fun to talk to.
And they like Batman v Superman.
And they like Batman vs Superman. We actually have a little bit of support for Adam.
Thank you.
Don't get used to it.
Okay, so we got the interviews. We did last week's episode, which was on cross genres or hybrid genres, leading into the Steampunk festival. I don't know much. I learned a lot from the interviews. They were telling me, they were actually teaching me a lot of stuff before we hit record. So, but a few steampunk films that I looked up would be League of Extraordinary Gentlemen.
Absolutely.
Wild Wild West. Which, do you know why there's a steam powered spider in that movie?
I have no idea.
Okay, so the producer of that movie was the producer on the defunct Kevin Smith Superman movie that he was writing.
Okay.
Okay, I don't know if you know anything about that script that he was writing. It was before Superman Returns that Bryan Singer did. Kevin Smith was writing it. It had Brainiac, Legion of Doom, all that stuff. The producer, I can't remember his name, but he's infamous in Hollywood for just being he's an old, I think he's a former hairstylist. Anyway, he wanted a giant spider in that movie, and Kevin Smith refused. Anyway, the movie didn't happen, but he was like dead set on a giant spider in that movie. So lo and behold, a few years later, Wild Wild West comes into being, and there's a giant steam-powered spider in that movie. So make with that you will.
You can't punish anyone for their own fetish. I mean,
fair enough.
J.J. Abrams has to have tentacles and lens flares.
Fair enough. And Beastie Boy music.
And Beastie Boys.
Okay, so League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, Wild Wild West, and the ladies gave a lot of good recommendations as well.
Yes, absolutely. You already heard them recommend Lizzie Sterling, Arcanum, and Lady Mechanica. For films, we also got a great recommendation for Treasure Planet.
Oh, I've seen it. I think Matt Damon's voice is in that one. I believe so. It's been a while since I've seen it. Or maybe I'm thinking of Titan AE. I do know I've seen Treasure Planet.
Yeah,
so
sure.
I may be confusing it, but I do know I've seen it.
Titan AE, also a great film. Treasure Planet is basically Long John Silver
In
space with pirate ships with rocket thrusters. It is absolutely
Rocketeer.
A Rocketeer, yes.
Which mean you saw a Rocketeer here.
We did. A great Rocketeer costume amongst all the different gears and top hats amongst the crowd. Really stood out. Also, we saw some great people mingling steampunk with other genres. I think two of my favorites was a steampunk Harley Quinn and a steampunk Tinkerbell.
I did not see the Tinkerbell.
Yeah.
Actually, I didn't see either one of them. I heard a lot of people talking about them, but like I said, I got here late, so.
It was way more than just top hat and gears and I'm Harley Quinn. They actually went all out. The Tinkerbell had a lantern with all steampunk with gears and copper with a candle inside. The Harley Quinn had a gears on her baseball bat. Probably two of my favorite costumes that I've seen.
Okay. You brought them up in mixing genre with steampunk. Since your buddy Mike's not here, I'm gonna throw you on the fire here. I'm just gonna throw some movies out there to you and see if you can just off the top of your head steampunk them up.
All right, let's do it.
Batman v Superman.
Well, I think you've got to get a steam-powered gun that shoots kryptonite, and we've got to have a lot of mechanized gears on that Superman slaying robot suit.
Okay, what about how do you steampunk up Superman? Give him some goggles.
Yeah,
like a guy. Yeah, slick back the hair, the goggles.
Absolutely, goggles. Maybe a little World War I helmet.
Yeah, maybe instead of the tight suit, maybe like a fighter jacket with the S on it.
Yeah, that'd be all right.
I guess
giant rivets.
I guess basically just make Batman look like Batman or Gotham by Gaslight.
Yeah, Gotham by Gaslight is pretty much our steampunk clockwork Batman ideal.
Which I think they're animating it.
Yeah, I've heard that I want to say it's Kevin Conroy is coming back as the voice for Batman vs.
Is it?
Maybe. It's either him or the new guy for the DC animated universe.
Oh, okay.
I want to say it's Kevin Conroy because he's been doing a lot of the non-canon DCAU.
What about make it a little more difficult. Maybe it's what about Star Wars? Steampunk Star Wars. If not the movie, Steampunk do Darth Vader, Luke Skywalker, Boba Fett. Steampunk them all.
What actually kind of interesting? There's actually a comic book under that impression called Steamworks.
Okay.
Where they have a steampunk Star Wars. There's also a steampunk Star Trek called Airship Enterprise and a steampunk Battlestar Galactica.
Can you find them at your store?
Absolutely, yes. At Underdark Comics and Games in Quincy, we've got those comics in stock. As for what we said, Boba Fett, Darth Vader, and
Luke.
Luke?
I don't know if that's what I said, but let's just do Luke.
Okay, we'll go with them. Well,
Because C-3PO would be too easy. Just put gears on the outside.
oh, absolutely,
it'd
yeah.
be too easy.
For Boba Fett, I see Boba Fett with a giant, like, grandfather clock chess piece. He's a bounty hunter. He's got to keep time. I just see him with that kind of visual. Vader, you got to give him a copper coat. Just keep the Vader armor all copper, maybe some red eyes, and Luke's hand. I mean, that's where you steampunk Luke on that.
Okay.
Yeah,
Fair
with
enough.
copper, moving gears, a lot of whirs, maybe that kind of popping along, clicking in his knuckles.
Okay, well, all right, that was too easy. I'm giving you too easy one. I'm gonna give you a hard one. I'm not even sure how I do it. Dumb and Dumber.
Dumb and Dumber. Boy. Okay, so we've got
too easy. Maybe too easy.
We've got the dogmobile, right?
Right.
We replaced the dogmobile. We put tank treads on the dogmobile. And giant like thrusters on the back of the dogmobile. Maybe like a hover mode on it.
What would their professions be within the steam? Because they wouldn't be because their professions would have to be steampunk-esque. So what? He was a limo driver.
Yeah. What was the other one? Was did you work at a pet store? Is that why they had the dog van?
Yeah, I think so.
Well, I think you go to like an armored carriage driver for the limo driver for Jim Carrey's character, and
Like mechanical animals, like a Blade Runner-esque store.
like Clockwork Pet Store. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Oh, crap, that was too easy. Glenn Ross. No, let's see, what's another one?
Okay, how about one for you, Mr. and Mrs. Smith? Steampunk it up.
Oh, well, all right. Okay. So, for everyone, listen, I don't know anything about steampunk. They kind of taught me. If I'm not mistaken, it's basically an alternate dimension where the world, or maybe not an alternate, maybe just the idea that the world progresses up into the Industrial Revolution, and then it just technology just kind of stops, and it progresses within. I mean, technology still proceeds, but it proceeds within that realm of steam and gears. Okay, yeah. So I would say that Mr. and Mrs. Smith, they were the Industrial Revolution. That's God, they're gonna take my American card away from me. That's pre-World War I or during World War I?
Thereabouts. Normally, steampunk is turn of the century to about 1920, 1925-ish. So Prohibition era.
World War
One.
Okay, okay.
One, but not two.
So Brad Pitt's character, Mr. Smith, he is an agent of the Americans. Mrs. Smith is the Axis. Or no, Axis was World War II. They're really going to revoke my citizenship. She is probably, who did we fight in World War I? Crap. The Germans.
Yep, Germans.
Okay?
Yep.
All right, so steam-powered weapons. No, like we were talking about the other day, the guns with the van clip on the side.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
You know, some of the gadgets that were in that movie, more just take the gadgets they had in the movie, but steam-powered them up. The gears on the outside. So they're agents for the opposite sides. They fall in love, right? Then they realize that they're agents for the opposite side, and they fight. I'm bad at steampunk, man.
No, I'm behind it.
So help me out, man. Help me out.
My only question is Angelina Jolie sexier with a German accent or an Italian accent?
She was only sexy during like the Hackers era.
Oh, shots fired.
Yeah. Man, like that was one of the reasons why I really want to come here, because like I said, I keep pointing it out. Like I know nothing about steampunk, so I learned a lot today from the ladies.
Yeah, this whole thing has been absolutely eye-opening. Even me, who has had some more experience with steampunk, I'm learning a lot too. This is all just almost a magical experience for me. If you have not come to this before, you need to come next year.
Right. Oh, and you'll hear it in the interviews. But each lady had a website or a Facebook page or a song.
Absolutely.
And you'll hear them give out their websites and everything, but we'll also make sure we give a description.
Yeah, hopefully we'll put the website in the comment description, or as the first comment somewhere in there. You should be able to find a clickable link. Hopefully, if everything goes according to plan.
Yeah, and by the way, listeners, I won the bet.
Ish.
You know what? We live in America. It works. I got it up on the internet. During the compression stage, the episodes got tore up. But I got them all saved, so I'm just going to take them all down, put them back up. Technically won the bet. That's the best type of way to win, technically. So right now they're on SoundCloud, but we're going to go on YouTube. We're just going to branch out as much as possible. It's kind of a short episode today because we're missing Mike, and we wanted to give the ladies as much time. They gave us way more time than they promised us, so we really appreciated that.
Absolutely. We begged for 3 to 4 minutes, and we got a half hour out of each of them. We could not be happier and more gracious, more pleased with the interviews that we've had a chance with everyone. So we hope you enjoyed it as much as we did. It is a little bit of shorter episodes, just Adam and I running the cart today. And really the stars were our ladies and our friend Doug.
Plug where we're at, because we're not at the comic book store today.
Absolutely. We are not recording at Underdark Comics and Games. We are actually recording at the Java Jive in Hannibal, Missouri. They've been nice enough to let us borrow a pen as well as a table. So if you're hearing a little bit of ambient noise, we got some musical background. That's what we got going on for us today, is we're at the Java Jive.
And the ladies gave us a recommendation. Do you have any recommendations for steampunk?
For steampunk, yeah, probably my favorite thing, steampunk-wise, that's been mentioned, is Arcanum. It's a classic old video game, and it really grabbed that old feel.
What platforms are
PC. Old top-down Fallout 1, Fallout 2 style, kind of tactical turn-based RPG. Very steampunk. I mean, it starts with your airship crashing, and you're in a Victorian suit.
Would Skyfall in the world was not Skyfall?
Sky Captain?
In the world, is that steampunk?
That's close enough to steampunk. It's not exactly what we're looking for, but it's definitely in that steampunk peripheral. A movie that I thoroughly enjoyed.
Right. That's one of the first times they brought an actor back from the dead. When the villain, he had died. Who was it? Ernest Borgnine or someone they brought back?
Yeah, that sounds right. I would have to get
That's before Peter Cushing came back for Rogue One. I would recommend League of Extraordinary Gentlemen. I know it's a horrible adaptation of the cartoon, or the
cartoon
of the comic book. Horrible adaptation, but it's just a fun movie.
That absolutely is.
It's got a lot of people were basing it on the adaptation, but it's actually a lot of people had problems with driving through Venice. Whatever. It's a fun movie.
It is a fun movie. Going for another fun movie that is steampunk adjacent, Hellboy 2 and the Golden Army.
Oh man, love Hellboy 2.
Love that movie. Very steampunk adjacent, with the ghost and the mecha suit, as well as the
voiced by Seth MacFarlane.
Is it Seth MacFarlane? Really?
Voiced by Seth
I was not aware of that.
Yeah.
As well as the Golden Army at the very end, very mechanized, clockworky.
Yes.
Another great steampunk adjacent. Sadly, we don't have a whole lot to work with in the steampunk genre. If you know of more films that we should be watching, definitely let us know in the comments.
Also, I met Doug Jones. Played Abe Sapien in the Hellboy movie.
No kidding.
Anyone who knows me knows I don't like getting touched, and he's very like hippie. Like he was hugging me, I was like kind of like, oh, Doug Jones is hugging me. Then I was like, why are you hugging? Anyway, oh, real quick before we get out of here, we have someone sitting here, which I'm giving her crap. Anyway.
We almost had an impromptu interview, but she's giving me the oh hell no look.
Anyway, Guillermo del Toro's new movie, isn't it kind of steampunk? The Shape of Water. It's kind of people are thinking it's an Abe Sapien an unofficial Abe Sapien prequel. Is that it or no? I'm not really steam.
I haven't had a chance to look at that. I was unaware of that. All I heard was Hellboy 3 was dead and gone and made me very sad. I'll have to check that out.
Everyone YouTube The Shape of Water.
Shape of Water.
People are saying it's everything from an unofficial Creature of the Black Lagoon prequel to an unofficial Abe Sapien. The creature looks exactly like Abe Sapien. So anyway, we'll wrap it up. It's a short episode, but it was worth it because of the interviews. If you have any suggestions, comments, also. If you go to email us at damagecontrolpodcasting@gmail.com, just send an email. You can email me and tell me how much you hate my voice.
Yes, we want to know what you think, so give us what you think. And if you have any ideas or things that you want to hear us talk about, definitely let us know.
All right.
All right.